After an argument, my girlfriend posted my private medical records online to humiliate me. I didn't reply. Instead, I had my lawyer send her a "see you in court" email. The post vanished and she was left frantically leaving tearful voicemails begging me to call it off. I'm 29 male. For 2 years, I thought my relationship with Amanda, 27, was the real deal. I genuinely believed we were on the same team. I learned last week that we weren't even playing the same sport. It all detonated over something that should have been a non-issue. I have an autoimmune condition. It's a daily grind of chronic pain and fatigue that I manage, but some days it wins. Last Saturday was one of those days. We had a friend's barbecue to go to, and I told Amanda I just couldn't. The pain was too intense. I needed to stay home and rest. She lost it. It wasn't just disappointment, it was contempt. She called me lazy, an attention seeker, and accused me of using my illness as an excuse to avoid her friends. The argument got heated, and she said some things that cut deep, calling my condition convenient and me pathetic. Then she stormed out, slamming the door so hard the photos on the wall rattled. I was too hurt and exhausted to even process it. I took my medication and crashed on the sofa. Hours later, I woke up to my phone buzzing like a trapped hornet. A flood of texts, DMs, missed calls. My friend Timothy sent a screenshot with the text, "I am so sorry, man. What is she doing?" I opened the image and the world went quiet. It was a public post from Amanda. She had taken a photo of a diagnostic letter from my specialist, a letter I kept in a folder in my desk drawer. It detailed my specific autoimmune disorder, the medications, the long-term outlook, my private, vulnerable truth. Above the photo, she'd written, "For everyone who's ever wondered why my boyfriend is so flaky and always cancels plans, here's why. Apparently he has a super serious and very real condition, or maybe he's just the best actor I know. You be the judge. #drama queen, man-child, someone's get this Guyano scar." I felt a hot, dizzying wave of nausea. This wasn't anger, not yet. It was profound shock, humiliation. The feeling of being emotionally naked in a town square. My name wasn't on the letterhead, but it didn't need to be. Our friends, colleagues, and acquaintances all knew. My first instinct wasn't to scream or call her. It was to take meticulous screenshots. The post. Every single comment, the ones from her friends egging her on, and the few from my friends trying to defend me. I saved everything to a secure folder. The initial shock slowly began to curdle into a cold, hard knot of anger in my stomach. This wasn't a mistake. This was a deliberate act of cruelty. I spent the rest of the night in a daze. The next day, I didn't go to work. I just sat there, thinking. A conversation wouldn't fix this. An apology wouldn't erase it. This was a violation so deep that it required a response she couldn't ignore or manipulate. I spent hours researching privacy and defamation lawyers. I found a reputable firm and filled out their consultation form, attaching the evidence. I didn't expect a reply for days, but a paralegal emailed me back that afternoon to schedule a call with one of their lawyers, a Mr. Ronald, for the following day. The call was sobering. Mr. Ronald was professional and direct. He confirmed that what Amanda had done was a serious civil offense, public disclosure of private facts, with a strong case for defamation given the mocking caption. He laid out a path forward. He didn't promise a massive payday or a dramatic courtroom victory. He talked about strategy. His first recommended step wasn't a lawsuit. It was a formal cease and desist letter. It would be sent via email and registered post. It would demand the immediate and permanent removal of the post, a formal apology, and it would state that we reserve the right to pursue full legal damages if the demands weren't met. It was the first official shot across the bow. "I want to proceed," I told him, my voice steady for the first time in 24 hours. "She needs to understand that this isn't a game." The letter was sent that afternoon. For about 4 hours, silence. Then the post vanished. My phone lit up a minute later. It was Amanda. I stared at her name, then hit decline. It went to voicemail. Voicemail 1, panicked. "Brian? What was that email? My dad saw it. He's freaking out. A lawyer? Are you serious? I took the post down. Look, it's gone. This is insane. You're taking this way too far. Call me back. This is a huge misunderstanding." Another call. Voicemail. Voicemail 2, voice shifting from tears to indignation. "A lawsuit? Are you really threatening to sue me? It was a stupid joke, Brian. I was mad. You can't do this to me. My parents will lose their minds. This could mess up my career. Just call me. We can fix this, please. The voicemails kept coming. Each one was a masterclass in non-apology. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was terrified of the consequences. And as I listened to her panic, that cold knot in my stomach solidified into resolve. This was the right path. This was the only path. Update 1. Hey everyone. Thank you for the supportive comments. It's been a draining week, but your messages have been a bright spot. I'm still not talking to Amanda. As per Mr. Ronald's advice, all communication must go through him. This has not gone over well with Amanda's family. The voicemails continued for 2 days. I have them all saved. After the tearful begging failed, the tone shifted to anger and entitlement. One gem was, "I'm the one who looks like a psycho now because you couldn't just talk to me. You've made this so much worse." The lack of self-awareness is a marvel. Then, her father, George, got involved. He didn't call me. He's too smart for that. He sent me an email. The subject line was a misunderstanding. The email was patronizingly friendly. He called the incident an unfortunate overreaction. On my part, he wrote about how Amanda was deeply distraught and had learned her lesson. He then suggested that we should all handle this like adults and put it behind us for the sake of the wonderful relationship Amanda and I had. He finished by saying that dragging lawyers into a simple lover's quarrel was unnecessary and would only lead to unpleasantness for everyone involved. The subtext was crystal clear. It wasn't an overt threat, but it was an unmistakable warning. I forwarded it to Mr. Ronald, who called it beautifully arrogant and a textbook example of someone who thinks they can smooth things over without taking any real responsibility. Amanda's response to the cease and desist via an expensive-looking lawyer of her own came 2 days later. It was dismissive. They acknowledged the post was taken down but refused a formal apology. Her lawyer claimed the post was a momentary lapse in judgment, and that my refusal to communicate directly was evidence of my intent to escalate for financial gain. They essentially told us to get lost. Mr. Ronald's reaction was calm. "Good," he said. "They've put their position in writing. They're refusing to take this seriously. Now we can proceed to the next step." Filing the lawsuit is a big step. It's expensive and it's public. I hesitated for a moment, wondering if this was really what I wanted. Then Amanda made the decision for me. A mutual friend, who is more my friend than hers, sent me another screenshot. This time, it was from a private group chat that Amanda was in. She had posted a long message, a carefully crafted narrative painting herself as the victim. In this version, she wrote that she'd been worried sick about my increasingly erratic behavior and reliance on painkillers. She claimed she posted the letter in a moment of desperation, hoping one of our friends who is a doctor might see it and offer advice because I was so scared. She then wrote that my lawsuit was a vindictive and manipulative attempt to extort money from my family because I was jealous of her career success. Reading those calculated lies, seeing her twist my chronic illness into an addiction narrative to save her own skin, any hesitation I had evaporated. She wasn't just refusing to apologize. She was actively trying to destroy my reputation to anyone who would listen. I called Mr. Ronald. "File it," I said. "Let's move forward." The lawsuit is being drafted. It's no longer just about a humiliating post. It's about a systematic refusal to accept responsibility and a malicious campaign to rewrite the truth. They think this is a game of PR. They're about to find out it's a game of evidence. Update 2. Hello again. It's been a while. The wheels of justice grind slowly, and the last 2 months have been a masterclass in frustration and resolve. The lawsuit was officially filed, and Amanda was served at her apartment. No dramatic scene at her office. Mr. Ronald advised against anything that could be painted as deliberately inflammatory. The real fireworks started after she was served. About a week later, I was called into a meeting with my boss and a manager from HR. My stomach dropped. I knew what this was. I had been preemptively warned by Mr. Ronald that this might be their next move. HR had received a complaint. It was filed by an anonymous source expressing concern about a pattern of unstable and aggressive behavior from me in the workplace. It vaguely referenced my health struggles and how they might be impacting my judgment and temperament. The language was slick, corporate, and clearly written by a lawyer to cause maximum damage while maintaining plausible deniability. George's email about unpleasantness wasn't a bluff. This was the moment I had dreaded. But I was prepared. I walked into the meeting with a file. I didn't get emotional. I calmly laid out the facts for my boss and the HR manager. I showed them a printed copy of Amanda's social media post. I showed them the cease and desist and her lawyer's dismissive response. I explained that I had just filed a lawsuit and that this anonymous complaint was, in my view, a clear act of retaliation. The HR manager's face was unreadable. He didn't immediately take my side. He listened, collected my documents, and said, "Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Brian. We take all complaints seriously. We will look into this." My boss was more sympathetic, but told me to keep my head down and focus on work. It was terrifying. For 2 weeks, I worked under a cloud of suspicion. I felt like every email I sent, every conversation I had was being scrutinized. It was a calculated move to destabilize me, to isolate me, and to potentially get me fired to discredit my lawsuit. The next attack was more personal. My younger sister, Melissa, called me, confused and upset. Amanda had contacted her on social media. She didn't call, which would have been too direct. She sent a long, rambling message full of feigned concern. She spun the same lie she'd put in her group chat, that I was abusing medication, that she was scared for me, that I was unstable. She begged my sister to talk some sense into me and get me to drop this horrible lawsuit that was destroying her. This was the move that truly severed the last thread of any past affection I might have had. Trying to manipulate my family, to turn my own sister against me by painting me as an addict, it was vile. I sat down with Melissa, showed her everything, the post, the emails, the legal documents. She was furious on my behalf. "She's not just a bad ex-girlfriend, Brian," she said. "She's a genuinely bad person." Meanwhile, the legal battle churned on. Amanda's lawyers filed their response to our suit. It was a work of fiction. They claimed the post was intended for a small, private audience. It was public. That her caption was an expression of concern. It was mockery. And that my condition wasn't private because I had told a few close friends about it. They then filed a frivolous countersuit against me for malicious prosecution and causing emotional distress. Mr. Ronald was unfazed. He told me that these aggressive, baseless tactics were common for defendants with no real defense. "They are trying to make the process so expensive and so miserable for you that you give up," he explained. "Our job is to show them that we will not." The attempt to get me fired failed. After 2 agonizing weeks, HR concluded their review. The official feedback was a sterile email stating that the complaint could not be substantiated. The cloud over my head lifted, but the stress had taken its toll. This entire process was affecting my health, which was the ultimate irony. They were trying to bury me. But every malicious email, every lie to my family, every baseless legal filing was just another piece of evidence. They thought they could grind me down. They didn't realize they were just handing my lawyer more ammunition. Final update. Hey everyone, this will be my final update. The past 6 months have been a slow, quiet, and brutal war of attrition fought through legal documents and scheduled proceedings. It's finally over. We settled out of court a month ago. For anyone hoping for a public trial, I understand the appeal. But Mr. Ronald explained that a settlement gave us control, certainty, and a better outcome than risking the unpredictability of a trial. He was right. The tipping point was the deposition phase. My deposition was grueling, but I stuck to the facts. Amanda's was a disaster for her case. Under oath, confronted with her own social media posts, emails, and the timeline of her actions, her stories fell apart. Mr. Ronald didn't grill her dramatically. He just calmly asked her to reconcile her claim that the post was a cry for help with the mocking hashtags she used. He asked her to explain why her concerned message to my sister was sent after my lawsuit was filed. There was no big breakdown, just a series of long, damning silences and muttered, "I don't recall," that were recorded by the stenographer. Her father George's deposition was even more revealing. When presented with his friendly email, he was forced to admit under oath that he had tried to intervene in a pending legal matter. It completely undermined their entire narrative that they were the victims of an aggressive lawsuit. Shortly after the depositions, Their lawyer called ours. They wanted to settle. The first offer was insulting. They'd pay a portion of my legal fees. We refused. The negotiations dragged on for weeks. They fought over every single point, but the evidence was overwhelmingly in our favor. They had no real defense, only bluster, and they knew a jury would likely see right through it. Here are the final terms of the settlement. The financial consequence. The settlement they paid was substantial. I can't disclose the number, but it was a solid six-figure sum. It's not never work again money, but it is enough to cover all my legal expenses, create a significant emergency fund specifically for my medical needs, and provide a down payment for a small apartment. It's security, it's peace of mind. Mr. Ronald successfully argued that the amount should reflect not just the initial act, but the documented campaign of harassment and attempted reputational damage that followed. The written admission. This was my non-negotiable term. Amanda had to sign a formal, legally binding statement. It wasn't a fluffy apology. It was a factual document, reviewed by both legal teams, that states she publicly disclosed private medical information without consent, that her accompanying public statements were defamatory in nature, and that she retracts any and all false claims made about my character to third parties. It is a powerful document. It's my insurance. If she or her family ever breaches the non-disparagement clause of our agreement, I am free to make that signed admission public. The natural fallout. I haven't sought out information about her, but a few things have trickled back to me. Her social media is now completely private. The friend who sent me the group chat message mentioned that Amanda's circle of friends fractured badly over this. Some were disgusted when they learned the truth. Others just didn't want to be associated with the drama. I don't know if she lost her job, and I don't care to know. Her life is her own mess now. My concern is my own peace. As for me, I'm recovering. This process was brutal. It took a significant toll on my mental and physical health. There was no single moment of triumph, no fist-pumping victory. When Mr. Ronald called to tell me they'd accepted our final terms, I didn't feel elation. I just felt quiet. The tension I'd been carrying in my body for 8 months began to unwind, and I was just exhausted. The betrayal left a scar. I'm more cautious now, slower to trust. The world feels a bit sharper edged than it did before, but I'm moving forward. I'm focusing on my health, my work, and the real friends who supported me without question. I stood up for myself. I saw it through to the end, and I achieved a real, tangible form of justice. It wasn't easy or clean, but it was necessary. I refused to be a victim, and in the quiet aftermath, I'm finding my way back to being myself. Thank you all for listening.